Hello, Narnach here. Welcome back to Grim Dawn. Beta 29 is upon us. It's actually a couple of hours after recording the previous episode. The beta was launched, and a couple of hours after that, it was also hotfixed to fix a couple of bugs that crept in this pretty major release. So I just took the time to go over the patch notes, and I came up with a short list of things that at least I want to highlight of what is in, because beta 29, like beta 28 before it, is a pretty big update. So most important bit, Act 4, Part 2. So the game is now content complete. All 4 acts are in the game and they are complete. No more quests missing, no more areas missing. What you see is now what you get. The level cap has been raised to level 85 because there's now more content to the game. And the last 2 difficulties have been added. So Elite difficulty and Ultimate difficulty have been added to the game. So my understanding is that it will work similarly to Titan Quest and Diablo 2, and Diablo 3 actually early on in its lifetime, where if you complete the storyline, you can replay the story on a higher difficulty level, and then the monsters will start at a higher level that is appropriate, and then once you finish the second difficulty, Elite, you can go on to complete the game again on Ultimate difficulty. So that way the game's difficulty and levels have been tiered. As a result, monster levels throughout the entire game have been rebalanced. And we'll have to see how far. I mean, I'm level 42 currently, so we'll have to see where I should be in relation to game content. It's possible that the game is balanced. For example, that it will be done by 40, so that I'm already basically the level I should be at the end of Act 4. I'm not quite sure. We'll see how that works out. But it is possible that I will progress slightly faster because monsters offer less opposition. We will see. So in addition to that, legendary items have been added. So legendary items are basically like epics, the blue items, but on steroids. They start dropping after level 50. They have no random component, and they are pretty powerful, and they kind of help you build certain specific builds. So we'll see them when we find them. Only need 8 more levels before we get there. Also, speaking of epics, empowered epics have been added. So up until now we have been finding normal epic items, the blue items. And one of the nice things about epics is that they give you powers and abilities that you can't just get from the white, yellow and green items. So they are, to a certain extent, they help you also improve your build or define your build, or they're just way more powerful than normal items, but you level out of them. So in order to also make epics viable in the end game, empowered epics have been added to the game. And empowered epics are basically high-level versions of the low-level epics. So if you had a really nice epic gun that you played with from level 10 to level 15, but then it started feeling a bit too weak, you might be able to either find or upgrade. I'm a bit fuzzy on those details. We will see that as well. You will be able to play again with an empowered version of that gun at higher difficulties. Also, to make epic items more useful throughout the leveling process, all the epics at lower levels have actually been bumped slightly in power to make them useful for a longer duration than they were before. So another major thing, components. So the things you put into sockets, they've been overhauled. So before, once you completed all the parts of a component, this is actually a very nice one. Once you completed all the parts of a component, you would actually get the entire bonus. And then you would also get a random extra bonus for completing that component. That random bonus is now gone. So all completed components are now exactly the same. As a result, they're now stackable. So I have completed Bristly Furs over here, and I got them stacked too high. So rather than dedicating an entire bag slot, as I was doing, or an entire stash tab just to completed components, they're now all the same, so it doesn't matter anymore. And as a result, they're easy to stack, and when crafting, you no longer need to put them in the crafting recipe, because they're all the same, the game will just extract them for you. And the really neat thing is that crafting can now use materials from your stash. The crafting, by default, it will use items that are in your inventory. If there's not enough, it will look in your personal stash. If there are not enough items there, it will actually look in the shared stash as well and extract the necessary items from there. So it is now possible to put all your crafting materials in the stash and never worry about it until you actually need them. So I've actually done the opposite here. I've just grabbed everything I got and put them in my main inventory. And see how that works for now. As I said, I'm still trying to get a feeling for how this patch is going to work. I just did a bounty in Act 1. Just killing some Catonians, nothing really special. And yeah, just basically getting a feel for what's changed and not. And I used to have one complete tab dedicated to full components. But the thing is, if you now have, for example, let's see, the bristly fur over here. If I have partial bristly furs over here, if I complete this stack will actually be moved over here and merged into the completed one, which kind of makes it pointless to have a tab off to the side with completed parts, because all those completed parts will keep getting teleported over to your main inventory as you complete items. So I'm not entirely sure what to think of that. But I think eventually everything is just going to go into the stash tabs, and there's no need to worry about it until you actually need them. So that's that. Let's see what else. Oh yeah. So because there's no more random bonuses to stats, to resistances, to damage, to whatever, all the components have been buffed slightly to balance that fact out. So all the components are now more useful in and of themselves and no longer depending on a random factor. So that's a nice thing, I suppose. And now that's also been done retroactively. So most of your character builds will be more powerful now than they used to be. Because for example, if you have things that added stats, you get more stats. Health and armor, more health, more armor. So I seem to remember I had a physique well under the 500. I think I had 550 or something. Now it's 640, so it has been buffed quite a bit. So yeah, that's nice. Also for most armor pieces and weapons, the physique and cunning requirements have been reduced a little bit. So you no longer need as many stat points to equip most weapons. It's been applied to certain item types, but across the board most of the requirements have dropped a little. So I think that's also convenient. Gives you a bit more flexibility in what you want to equip, and it's not like I had that sometimes you have to wait 5 levels until you can equip something because you just don't have the physique to actually equip it. So that's a nice thing. And last, but certainly not least, the devotion system. I think some of the skills can now be applied to more skills than before. And more constellations in general have bonuses to pets just scattered throughout them. Let's see if I can find one. Because it was a bit all over. For example, Bismail's bolt. No, this I think this was a pet thing already before. For example, over here, the Living Imperium, there's a bonus to all pets for elemental resistance, which is a slightly weaker version of what you personally get. Of course, now I can't find it, right? So the rat, no. Come on, it was an animal. The jackal. Yes, the jackal now gives a bonus to pets, a bit of speed and a bit of health, for example. And it looks like more of the constellation things have been overhauled a bit to be a bit more pet friendly. So that's something that eventually I will have to get into and just have another good look at. And especially now that 2 new difficulties have been added, all the devotion points in the game are now accessible. Because before, once you completed Act 4, Part 1, you were at 25 unlocked points out of... No, that was the limit. And you can get up to 50. So you can actually get quite a bunch of points. So now Act 4, Part 2 has been added, plus 2 new difficulties. So you will be able to get quite a number of points in total, of which you can use up to 50. So that should allow for some flexible build options. And I think that also means that you can miss out on 1 or 2 shrines and still get all of them. So you don't actually have to catch them all in order to get all your points. Well, that's a bit of speculation on my side since I haven't been beyond normal difficulty yet. And with that, I think I've been done rambling. Let's get started and see what happens. Okay, so these guys are still level 42. I'm level 42. Also, I think the skill on my Briarthorn now actually has a graphic. I don't remember these big nasty spikes coming out of the ground before. Or is that because I actually got them at max level? I don't think so. And of course, because this is a major update, a lot of skills and things have been receiving bug fixes and balance changes and things like that. So I would highly recommend that you check out the game's patch notes. I'll put a link in the description to the forum thread that has the patch notes, and also for the hotfix patch notes, so you can just read them on your own. Also, I think last time we already ran to the waypoint and we had some questies in this area, so let's have a full clear. Just kill all the Custodians and the Zealots and all the things. So I believe the intention is that beta 30 is going to be launched somewhere in somewhere in January. 30 is not a month, is it? No. And then, if everything goes according to plan, they're aiming for a full release of the game in February. So after many years of development and the many sacrifices the dev team has made for this game, it's finally done. So I'm really happy for them that they actually managed to make their dream a reality. And yeah, it's become a very fine game. I really enjoy my playthrough. Especially with some additions like the devotion system this late into the game. There are multiple layers of character customization, which I appreciate. I mean, if you've seen more of my videos on my channel, you know I'm a pretty active Path of Exile player. And that game takes character customization and pushes it way beyond the limits of sanity, and then even further. Not quite sure if Grim Dawn has that level of character customization yet, but it does a pretty good attempt. I mean, you have all the character classes, you have the devotion system, and you get enough skill points so that you cannot ever actually get all the skills on your character. Well, you can probably get all at one point in all the skills, but then they'll be really weak. So if you want to max each skill that you pick, you know, you're not gonna get more than a handful of skills that will be truly useful. Especially if you factor in passives that modify your skills. You're not gonna get more than a handful of skills that are active and useful. So that means that even if you play a single class, you can already play multiple builds. If you then factor in different class combinations. There are a lot of different builds that you can make, and especially if you factor in also different weapon combinations or elemental focuses. And on top of that, you got the devotion system, which will give you even more different ways to enhance a character or maybe even unlock possible builds that, based on just the base classes alone, aren't really viable. You got legendary legendary items that are pretty ridiculously powerful and thereby also open up options for different builds. Let's see, this is seems like a certain faction or something lives here. Sorrow's Bastion. Is that where I had to go? I don't know. Death's Vigil. Yay! I'm home. Also, loading screen's been changed. I think it now shows your the first of your classes. So in this case, Occultist is sorted. It's the first one, so I get an Occultist picture there rather than something else. I think this is a new home. Yeah, Master Varuk. You must be the representative from the Black Legion. Come, come. There's much to be done. Oh, you wanted to speak with me? If you are to fight along the Order of Death's Vigil, then first you must prove yourself to us. Show us that you not fear death, and we will show you its secrets. So what must I do? One of our most prominent members, Malkadar, second only to the Keeper, was recently slain by a Chthonian ambush. His remains are now in the possession of the cultists, somewhere out in the Blood Grove. We cannot lose our mind like Malkadar. The Keeper has called for the rite of resurrection to be performed on the revered necromancer. It falls to you, my aspiring initiate, to venture into the Blood Grove and recover Malkadar's remains. So, what is this ritual, please? It's a sacred ritual performed in dire times to bring back a fallen member of the Order. It is not resurrection in a literal sense. Malkadar will not be returned to his mortal form. Instead, he will continue to serve the Order as a revenant. Can I count on you to retrieve what's left of him? Oh, sure. I like summoning things from the dead. Let's see. Laruka. Hello. Death Vigil, Dreadlord. Bounty table. But yeah, they don't like us enough just yet. Let's have a quick look here. Ooh, Laruka's journal. It's always fun to snoop in people's journals in these games. Today marks a critical moment in my life as one of Uruburuk's pupils. Having passed the trials, the only thing that stands between me and the coveted title of Necromancer is performing a reanimation. I've had the pleasure of seeing our master at work countless times. He's truly a master of the craft, requiring neither reagents nor word to bring the dead back into the living. Uruburuk claims that this is a matter of practice and form, but I am convinced otherwise. His grasp over death supersedes us all, even his oldest students, who, at a whim, may call upon spirits to do their bidding. But even they require binding runes and focusing stones, of which our master makes no use of. The dead Uruburuk brings back don't just serve him, they seem eager to please their master, as if to earn his favor. But now it is my turn to join the elite ranks of the Order. I've studied the scrolls, learned the rites and burned the words into my memory through exhaustive repetition. I've gathered the grave moss and the dust from buried bones. I am ready. Tomorrow I will drag a soul back from beyond the veil of death and force it into skeletal remains. Tomorrow I emerge from the sepulchre as a full-fledged necromancer. Well, that's a pretty nice introduction. Hello there, Varuk. How are you? A rogue spirit nearly ruined a day's worth of study. I shall have to be more careful when with the binding ritual in the future. May you capture spirits to serve you? But of course, spiritual servants are invaluable to our research on death and history. Sure, some spirits are accommodating, but not all are as understanding of the greater purpose we all serve. Despicable? No, I don't think that's despicable. I mean, necromancy is cool. I am not gonna condemn that. It's a power I hope to attain someday. I mean, it would be a bit bad form, right, if I immediately start complaining about my new allies. Those who fear death will live under its shadow. Master death, and you shall master life. So teaches Uruburuk. Uruburu what? He's our founder. Taught us all we know of necromancy. Without him, the order wouldn't exist. May I speak to him? Sadly, our master left us in the middle of the night many years ago, under mysterious circumstances. We can only presume that events of great importance have drawn him away from the order. Oh, that's curious. And a shop. Just a proper, normal shop. Ooh, more scrap. With all the crafting I've been doing, I am eager to keep my hand on some more scrap. Let's see, so faction vendor. Once I get better reputation, I can buy more stuff. Oh, we can actually have a look at what can we get from the higher level items. So, guns, one-handed axe, one-handed mace, ooh, a scythe. Yes, I like scythes. Okay, I'm holding control to just ignore the bonus from my inserted component, but even then this is a lot weaker. But it's level 35 item versus my level 40, so okay, sure. Next up, this is level 70. Wow, this is only slightly better than the epic I've currently got. Blueprint Empowered Reaper's Touch. Okay, well, let's have a look at those things when they become relevant. Let's have another look at other people's here. Gairok. Should you encounter any of Kaiman's chosen out in the wilderness, beware, they're a zealous group and attack us on sight. So what happens? The bastards jumped me in the woods, burning blades drawn. Of course, poor fool made the mistake of thinking I was alone. Cost me a few decent minions, but he made an ample replacement for one. Poetic justice. Balvaruk. I've heard that name before. Calderas has informed me of your success within the steppes of torment. You have banished a malevolent spirit that has haunted those halls for centuries. Even in death, Alchemos has tormented the cursed spirits of Alcrovia. In his ultimate destruction, you have brought balance to the spirit realm. That's where is Calderas now? He's recuperating beyond the spiritual veil. He will return when he deems it worthy. Sometimes Calderas disappears for months at a time. Where he goes, I could not tell you. He doesn't obey commands? Well, free will in that respect. Calderas is no different from you and I. He may be bound to the mortal plane as a spirit, but that does not mean he does so at my beckoning. More powerful necromancers than I had bound him to his immortal form, but it was done of his own will. I see. Last, the Keeper of the Tomes. Another one joins our ranks. It's always a pleasure to welcome another open-minded individual. Make yourself at home. I've got some questions. Ooh, he's got a cool mask. Questions. If I know the answers, you shall have it. What can you tell me about the Order's history? The Order was founded 313 years ago by our immortal master, Uruburuk, in order to preserve knowledge and pursue the study of necromancy. Before the Order, necromancy was nearly lost to the world, an art persecuted to near extinction. You may have heard of the curse of Arcovia. That was our master's retribution for the systematic elimination of necromancers. Following the Arcovian tragedy, Uruburuk wandered the world in seclusion for many centuries. He resurfaced a little over 3 centuries ago, swearing to restore the art of necromancy and to ingrain the pursuit of knowledge and life's mysteries into a new generation. Today, the Order is comprised primarily of arcanists and occultists, disillusioned and persecuted by erudite society. Though we do welcome those who do not have the arcane gift. Uruburuk's teachings encourage tolerance and understanding after all. So, who was that guy? Tales of Urubrook have existed for centuries. None know for sure in what distant time and place he was born, or if Urubrook is even his original name. What we do know is that Urubrook was central to the tales of Arcovia's downfall many centuries ago. Under the decree of the Arcovian oligarchs, all suspected practitioners of necromantic art were to be taken to the steppes of torment, a vile prison where doomed men were left to rot in the darkness of the depths of the earth. Urubrook, who then had a powerful following in Arcovia, was betrayed and handed over to the Arcovian torturers. However, he was not like any man they had ever met. It seemed Urubrook could not die. His skin would not burn and his wounds would not bleed. Unsurprisingly, this drew the attention of the oligarchs, who craved such power for themselves. Under their command, Urubrook was subjected to the most brutal and imaginative forms of torture ever conceived. His immortality had worked against him. Ultimately, our master agreed to their demands and offered to perform the ritual which would make the oligarchs immortal. The oligarchs had assumed his will broken and greedily accepted. Indeed, Urubrook granted the people of Arcovia the immortality they so craved. But it came in the form of a devious curse. They still suffer from the ravages of time, but the merciful release of death would not come. They became trapped within their physical forms, even as their bodies disintegrated and turned to dust. The remnants of the once great Arcovian Empire still roam the world as mindless ghouls and tortured spirits. Centuries later, Urubrook would create the Order of Death's Vigil, so that our knowledge would never again be threatened by the ignorant. He taught several generations of our people before mysteriously leaving us in the middle of the night, a few years before the grim dawn struck. So, your master left you? Yes, we do not know why or where. Perhaps he has ascended, his time on Karn concluded. I believe that he is still out there though, traveling the world in search of enlightenment. So have people gone after him? Yes, of course, many had left to search for our master, it's only one, but none have returned with even a hint of his presence. It has become tradition for young acolytes to set out into the world in search of Urubrook for a year. They return wizened by their travels, but no closer to uncovering the truth of our master's disappearance. Perhaps I will find him someday. So, getting a dry throat from all that reading. That gate's been locked, so we can't go through just yet. Well, we have met our new allies. Shouldn't there be a portal here? I'm kind of expecting there to be a portal here. Of course, because I'm next to Soros Bastion. Okay, so Soros Bastion, and then presumably, let's see if I go there. And presumably somewhere else on the map is gonna be the base of the other order. The one that I rejected, and the ones that are now my enemy. That would be Kaimon's Chosen. Okay, well, next episode we will set out and complete a bunch of these quests over here. We have 2 side quests and we have our initiation quest for the order. So I think we will be sticking around here for a while just to clear everything and just slowly do full clears and just slowly advance towards the north. Because eventually we will end up at Fort Icon, after which we will move even further past the necropolis towards the Bastion of Chaos, which, according to what the patch notes said, this is where the final battle will take place. So it's gonna be a nice long road, I suspect. At least there's gonna be a lot more content to come. And with that, I'm gonna end this episode. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you will enjoy Beta 29 as well. And I'll see you again next episode. Bye bye.